The debt for nature swap operates on the following principle that, let's take the example of a country. A country owes hard currency to a bank or another government, and it is given the opportunity to actually convert that debt into local currency and spend it on something to do with conservation.
We've heard a lot about countries, and I'm sure you have too, failing to meet their biodiversity targets. Why are debt for nature swaps then so much more effective?
Well, the advantage of debt for nature is it basically takes the financing for whatever project or projects outside of the normal budget context and creates a new source of finance.
And is saving biodiversity, do you think that's high up on the agenda for, say, the poorer countries?
Any country really needs to protect its biological heritage, its biodiversity. But the poorer countries, are always struggling to meet multiple priorities. So if there is an additional source of revenue that can be devoted to helping them meet those targets, it's all for the better.
And then how do you measure whether a debt for nature swap is effective? I mean, can you give me an example of a country where it's worked?
Let me tell you about one of the very first ones, which was Ecuador. And basically, $10 million worth of Ecuadorian debt was purchased from the secondary market. And Ecuador, in return, provided the equivalent in local currency to essentially double the budget of the National Park Service for 10 years.
When we talk about debt for nature swaps, do you think possibly they could provide a creative solution for a sovereign debt crisis, perhaps, and a climate change crisis at the same time?
Well, I think there's no question it could be all of those things. And since biodiversity and nature is built of carbon, it's directly related to climate change. So the extent to which you are securing important biodiversity or also securing an important stock of carbon, preventing it from adding to climate change.
Well, next year, the Convention on Biodiversity will meet, as you know, in Kunming to lay out conservation goals for 10 years' time, for 2030. Is that a waste of time, do you think, considering the world is consistently failing to meet these kind of biodiversity targets?
What we're trying to do here is the equivalent of running up a down escalator. So even though targets have been proposed in the past and countries have struggled to even meet them part way, there's no reason with adequate funding that we can't actually make a big difference the next time around. I think it's time for biodiversity to come out of the shadows of the big environmental problems like climate change and come into its own for a period of remarkable achievement in nature protection.
Dr. Thomas Lovejoy, many thanks for joining us on The Agenda.
Thank you.